Happy holidays. Nothing says holiday season like great tasting, less filling Miller Lite.
Yeah, 'tis the season to get together with good friends and great drinks, and that means 'tis Miller time since 1975. Miller Lite has been the beer with taste you can depend on. No games, no gimmicks, just great beer. Not only is Miller Lite a great tasting light beer, it's also a great gift for the beer lovers in your life.
Ed, I got something for you.
What do you got?
I'm going to drink some Miller Lights tonight.
That you should. I love to hear that.
It's like you said, 'tis this season. But it's also the shittiest weather season right now, and nothing gets you out of that like wintertime blues mode than a great tasting, less filling Miller Lite.
Yeah.
I got a real problem.
What do you got?
I had a case of Miller Lite on my back deck. It got stolen on Saturday.
Oh, no.
An opened case, and I think the culprits were people. They're in the back part. There's a building that has like a little loft above a garage, and there's always like younger kids up there. I think that they probably went to T-Box and saw it on my deck from their angle and went down the stairs and came up my building and snatched them.
Had to get their hands
Devastated.
Is there any part of you that says at least they have great taste in a light beer?
Yeah, and it's only 96 calories, and it's only, you know, what is it? How many carbs, Dave?
3.2 per 12 ounces.
There you go. So, yeah, like that's, I mean, it's, I guess, but like that's like,
Yeah,
that should be like a
really
big time
should.
crime. Yeah, so that was disappointing, but you know what? I'm still going to keep putting them out there.
And I want to direct attention back to the shop, though, because it is a great gift for beer lovers in your life. Shop.millerlite.com. New holiday collection features everything from cozy beer-inspired holiday sweaters to drinkable ornaments for your tree. This holiday, 'tis Miller time, so enjoy Miller time with friends and family. Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/redline to find delivery options near you so you can give the gift of Miller time this holiday season. Or they sell Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer in Chicago or around the nation if you're a Chicago sports fan. So celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories, 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Hey, how you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Chicago sports fans. This is Barstool Carl.
And Dave.
Chief.
Eddie.
And this is Redline Radio, an all-gas, no-breaks Chicago sports podcast brought to you by Miller Lite and Barstool Sports Chicago. Big fights this weekend, a lot of fighting.
Rough and Rowdy, UFC 282, Paddy the Baddy, Grace O'Malley, Pac-Man Jones. We had him on last week. A lot of stuff going on. What did you take away? Did you guys watch it all?
With some controversy around the Paddy fight that I don't know enough about UFC, but I find the controversy interesting at a broad scale. I think it's interesting that the MMA people are fighting about it. I think it's casual fans are arguing about it. Barstool people are arguing about it. There's like the Jersey Jerry angle, or who tweeted out the facts? Did it not Jerry? Who tweeted out the specs?
Jerry's friends with the guy who Paddy beat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's so many storylines going on with the Paddy
Yes,
fight.
correct. That's probably where you
Wherever you want to sink your teeth into it, Ed, I find them all equally fascinating.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. We could start with Paddy. I watched the fight. Now, granted, I am far from adept in scoring in UFC. However, I watched that fight and I thought it was a complete toss-up. I don't see where the controversy is coming from, really. And maybe if I watch it a second time, then that would change. But I thought that it was a complete toss-up and that no one should be pissed if Paddy won, or no one should be pissed if Paddy didn't get the decision. So,
did anybody see the clip of Rogan? There was like a shot of Rogan.
Yeah.
Like,
well, a lot of people are also saying because he was also right in front of Gordon's trainer.
oh,
So
okay.
people were also
All right.
speculating that he had that reaction because he was head-to-head with someone from his camp.
Okay.
But
Okay.
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
did you watch the fight?
I did watch the fight. My internet went down midway, so I didn't watch the whole thing. So
Paddy's like a really big deal, right? From the
Paddy's a huge
perspective
deal.
of like, obviously big deal, like, oh, he's fighting in UFC, but I mean, is he getting into like that highest tier of cultural significance when you see guys wearing blonde wigs and
I would say he's on that path, not quite there yet. He's got work to do. I think that's fair to say, right?
Patty's like he's like he's one of those up and coming guys where it's like, oh, this guy's.
But is
like,
he past up and coming now? When you look into the audience, you see people wearing blonde wigs.
He's got all the sizzle and
yeah,
spice.
he's got the charisma and everything.
So what does he need? Does he need a title or does he need a big? Does he need like a big moment, like when McGregor knocked that dude out in fucking 10 seconds?
He just needs to keep stacking those wins.
Yeah, well,
and like keep stacking that resume.
To Carl's point there, I was just scrolling through TikTok the other day. This was before the fight, and it was like some mom saying, like, instructing her daughter, like, this is the type of energy you want in a man. So like he's getting out into like even like moms know about him because he's like the fun goofy guy who's also like super good at his job, and it's like he is becoming like very culturally relevant.
Definitely.
He just got that factor where, you know, McGregor, everyone was like, wait, he just turned heads. Everyone wants to watch him. So Patty, he's got that, the sizzle and pizzazz. Now it's all about, and he is stacking the wins. Now every fight that goes by, he is taking on tougher competition. His latest one was the toughest one that he's had. And
what's his name? I'm sorry.
Gordon was his
so
last
then
name.
Gordon said he would entertain like a rematch. Would it be smart for Patty to fight this guy again, or should Patty like move on?
I don't think that would be smart for him. He has nothing to prove on that. And if it was a title fight, absolutely, you'd probably go 3 total fights, assuming that the first 2 are split.
Yeah, but
we're not even at the point where like he's doing rematch. He just keeps climbing up.
There's no way.
I'm sorry. So what were you saying before I interrupted you with that question?
No, so it's like so Patty's at the point where it's like he's still like he's like if the train is still at such an early station where like he needs to like he's still piling on these early wins. You know what I mean? We're like, it's like if we're in like the movie Billy Madison, you know what I mean? Where it's like he's still in like getting those. He's still in like the 3rd, 4th grade. Okay. You know what I mean? Where it's like that's not disrespect. Like
that's just the fact.
But he's just like he's just stacking those like intermediate win. But Gordon's like was like the first.
That's
like,
a level up.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
So then, how far until? How many more of these
and correct
moments?
me if I'm wrong. I'm not like the most biggest expert.
Well, no one in the room can, so don't fucking slow down. Yeah. Just keep going.
Well, then what's like the generic time frame? And like, how do guys get title fights in UFC then? Is he close? Is that going to happen?
Well, that's also kind of happened this weekend. So the main event, if you saw the post card interview with Dana White and everything, a lot of people were fucking furious with the main event because it was a pay-per-view, so people are dropping $80 to watch it, and it was just a dog shit fight. So that is the light heavyweight division. That is, there's just no title holder for that division now. Okay. So Dana White basically hand selected my guy Jamal Hill and Teixeira in the light heavyweight division to fight for the title.
Okay.
So but that's not the same one as Patty.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
But we're talking about Patty.
I'm trying to pull it all together right now. So Patty's division, he's got, I would say, at least probably 5 more fights to go, right?
Who knows how it works? Is like you just keep stacking those wins, and then,
exactly.
Really, there's no black and white process.
Okay, because
put it that way.
Because like boxing, it does feel like if you're like a character, you're more inclined to get that shot. And I was wondering if there was some.
Listen, there's rankings. If you're 12, you try and beat 8, and then if you beat the 8, you'll probably face the number 4 guy, and then if you beat that, and then like. People call for
college football.
Exactly. That's how
you
they
should
do
only be you should have to be in the top 10 to play number 1 or something. It'd be great if college football came out one season was like, you're not fucking good enough to be on the field with Alabama. And we're not running the Alabama team out unless you're good enough.
Yes. And now here the situation is Patty is seen as somewhat of a golden boy by
like his contemporaries got.
Yeah, and in UFC, and naturally
favored. You mean golden boy? Like he's getting.
People are saying that. People are saying that. People are people. There are people. There is a contingent that are
like a little conspiracy element.
Yeah, there is a contingent that's starting to hate on Patty, being like, oh, he's Dana White's fucking horse. Like there's guys like him and Sean O'Malley who are very good in this sector. In this Sean O'Malley's super tight with these YouTubers, and like he's super tight like the Nelk circles and whatever, and like people are like there's this big conspiracy and like
I don't think it's a conspiracy
MMA
though. I subscribe to those theories. I think it's a money making business in the end.
I don't know.
I mean, Sean O'Malley.
But my thing is, I just don't know enough to how to judge a fight to say yes or no. That's where I stand.
That's fair.
I just look at a fight and say who beat the other guy up the most.
I feel like that's so much harder to understand in UFC.
It's definitely because you're doing multiple things. Like you can control the whole fight from just grappling someone on the ground, and you're not really hurting the guy. No one's really winning. It's kind of a stalemate, but
it's like who has the stronger position.
Exactly. It's not you're just punching in the face and body like boxing.
It's like it's
more black and white.
Tell. Yeah, it's very easy to see.
So I try to apply that for me to UFC, and
it looks like Lance has something to say.
Yeah, Lance, what do you got?
What do you got, buddy?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think something that would be important for us to figure out is like, what's worth more, a takedown or like a significant strike to the face? Because Paddy was beating his face in, but Gordon took him down 3 times. Paddy didn't take him down any. So
it's how do you weigh that?
Yeah. So the judges weigh it that you beat a guy's face and you win. So
hey, listen, I'm not like
I kind of think that's what it should be.
I think that's what it should be too, but that's not how it is. I know. Which is, and people in my limited experience with UFC typically agree with that.
Agree with
like how we think,
okay,
and that they do think there should be some change to how judges score a fight. Yeah.
Well, I think it's.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Like that's the interesting watching UFC experience now. If you watch the fight and you're like, you don't watch a lot of them, like any of us in this room. If you're watching the fight and you're also on Twitter, it tells you 2 different things. Like I was watching the fight, being like, because I bet Paddy. I'm like, oh, we're looking pretty good now, and I checked Twitter like after the rounds, and it was like. I have 10-8, 10-8. Other guy, I'm like, oh shit, I guess we're losing.
Yeah, it's weird like that. It is weird like that.
But like the eyeball test would tell you that Paddy was winning, and then
for sure. Like I thought so too. And so, but it is what it is, man. Like obviously, like I'm a Paddy supporter. So it's cool. And Paddy's fucking good. He's a good fighter. So like the hype is warranted too. That's the thing. It's not just all the sizzle pizzazz.
People obviously. There is this sect of the internet that don't like him because of his association with us. Obviously, that comes with the territory.
Think that's it.
There definitely is, and it's not even just us. But you brought up Sean O'Malley. People think that he's been rushed. That Alex Pereira, he was rushed because these guys are like flashy, and people are drawn to them for reasons other than their ability to beat people up in an octagon. Which.
There was a lot that went into it though, Carl. To answer
it's
your
a
question,
necessary evil, I think.
He beefed with Paddy had some beef with the biggest MMA journalist earlier in the week too. That like added into it. Him and Dana White did a podcast, and like there was a lot of back and forth with Ariel Helwani. I don't know if you're familiar with who that is. So there was like a lot went into this whole week, and it was good fodder. So it's like definitely going to add a lot of hype and more interest for his next fight.
And then you personally, like you came in here years ago as a UFC guy.
Funny enough, I did after I was giving Dave shit. What was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago about that?
Before 281,
when he did the Fight Pass interview. They hit me up. I just did a little interview with them last week.
So I did another one with them last night. And
did you? That's funny.
They I'm gonna leave it as a surprise, but they did. We got a couple surprises for you.
Oh really?
Yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
You got like a sneak attack on me?
Not a sneak attack in any way, but it's a little surprise.
But he's not going to see it coming.
No, he won't. He won't.
So,
it's not an attack though.
Okay,
He'll like it.
What were you gonna say, Lance? Sorry, I saw you.
Oh, I was just gonna say, did you get what did you guys think of Justin Gaethje, the UFC fighter, like calling out Portman?
Yeah.
All that.
I mean, listen. Here's the thing too. Listen. If you're like a diehard MMA fan, you're probably fucking ripping your ears off right now.
Definitely.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Like I'm sorry, but like that's what we are. Okay. And that's what Dave, Big Cat, and I mean Austin was there too. He was like involved in the Dylan Dennis tweet too, who said the 3 judges, which is really funny. I'm sorry, but that's what we do. We fuck around and like we support our guy, and like that's all it was. But like fighters are a different level. They like just can't like see the humor and shit like us. Like you talked before about guys who are like that, like and how you and your buddies like joke around. Like you've like talked about guys who are so serious. Like what's up, fella? Like you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that just can't. Like, they don't really get the.
What's interesting?
I do want to say though, if you're a diehard MMA fighter or MMA fan and you're listening to us right now, if anything, you're just the fact you're here. Wouldn't you just be happy we're talking and we're trying
True.
and it's gonna get better?
True.
So like maybe it's not good, but if you are a diehard, I would assume you're getting your insight and you're scratching your content itch in other platforms.
True.
So like I think it's probably a bigger sign that this room is willing to sit and butcher a conversation off the top.
I don't think it's been butchered
weekly.
per se, but I
I'm
get what you're
speaking
saying.
from the perspective of Eddie saying, you know, like don't apologize. People enjoy what you're doing, and you should keep doing it. And you should come in here with more UFC takes, and you should feel empowered because it's fucking big stuff.
Now I will say what is interesting. Our guy Danny Niumatalolo did lose his Bellator fight, unfortunately, on Friday night to Rafael Stotts.
Now, if you didn't tell me that, I could have gone.
Yes,
Now I'm mad.
Yes.
The Red Line Radio curse is back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So, what's interesting?
Jamal
is,
got a title fight though.
So
He's gonna lose.
So he lost his Bellator fight, Niumatalolo, and supposedly there was a really bad judges scorecard by this guy Doug Crosby, and that was at Mohegan Sun, which is in Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
You ever been there, Dave?
I have.
Just joking. Yeah.
Do you want that story?
This judge, like, and everyone, like, it was one of those scorecards where everyone's like, what? And this guy flew from Connecticut, Friday night Bellator event, and he judged, and he was a judge, and he went to Vegas, he judged Saturday. And a lot of people had issues with the scorecards. So, like, a lot of tinfoil hats, like, what's up with this guy? So, like, I'm not saying here nor there. I'm just saying.
No, you say it, Ed. You say the R word.
I'm just saying, I like when there's like a little Angel Hernandez, a little Joe
human
West
error.
business going
Human
on
error.
sometimes, you know.
I'll say
was
this.
the R word?
Rigged.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
He
that.
wanted to say the R
Do
word.
people refer to rigged as the R word?
I mean, I was no.
Anyone,
But that's what he was
like,
getting
where
at.
is he going?
Where
You
is he
said the
going with
R
this?
word.
Yeah.
But I'm
Rigged.
I'm just saying.
He wanted to say it though.
No, I'm just saying. My point is, I don't know who this Doug Crosby guy is, but I'm just saying when you get to know judges' names,
That's a bad thing.
That's a bad thing, but it's one of those things where it's like how did Joe West become so popular? Like it's
Because he's a country singer.
Yeah, right. I don't know. It's just funny to me.
I'll wrap up what I have to say about UFC on this. And when I do the interviews with UFC and everything, I always say this: give the sport a shot and get at least to like Ed and I's like knowledge, which is a very, very, very baseline knowledge of the sport, and you will thoroughly enjoy UFC. It's an awesome, and I love it. I really have grown to love that sport. So if you know nothing about it like I did a year ago, just give it a shot and follow the storylines, because it really is a soap opera blended with, men and women mauling each other, and the way they package it, where it's fight after fight after fight after fight. You got 5 hours or 6 hours of entertainment on a Saturday. You can't ask for anything more.
And go check out a fight if it's in your local area and use the Game Time
app, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Unbelievable stuff going on. We talked about Game Time relentlessly. We've talked about it and for good cause, because it's so reliable. And now is the time to give the gift of an awesome experience this holiday season with Game Time. If you're nervous your present won't arrive in time, or simply forget the holiday shop, do something nice. Do something nice for somebody. Give them Game Time. Game Time tickets get delivered to your phone and inbox instantly. If you haven't given Game Time a shot yet, now's the time. We've been using Game Time all year. Just went to Army Navy with it. It was awesome. Download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, redeem code RLR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Download Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The G word. Throw a fucking uppercase G on guaranteed.
Not
Game
even an
Time.
uppercase. I want all caps
anytime
on
I'm
that.
using the word guaranteed, that should be a big G. Guarantee should never be spelled with a lowercase g. That should be part of like the English. Anyways, Game Time.
Ed hates
however you want
letters.
it. Big G's, little G's, Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Go to account tab, create a login. It's RLR for $20 off your first purchase. What else you got?
I just want to reiterate, like, obviously, I love and support Patty and Molly. I don't want to be lumped in with Dave, who was taking shots at Molly when she
wasn't taking shots.
And I obviously I like Dana too. I think Dana does a great job, and I like the UFC.
I think he's the best commissioner in sports.
But yeah, I just want to make that clear. I do really sincerely want to hear about Army Navy.
Yeah, it was great. Connor Crean, Captain Cons, does not get like I'll never be able to thank him enough or give him enough credit because we were on the sidelines like before the game. Like I got to introduce my father to the chief of staff of the United States Army, the number one person in the United States Army, 4-star general, General McConnell. I had a very brief yet casual, like, hello, Mr. Secretary. Like, how are you doing? I'm doing very well, like, excited for the game. Like, it's going to be a good game. Like, hey, do you mind if we take a picture real quick? Like, the boys back home won't believe it. It's like, yeah, of course. Take a picture, walk away. Like, bro, that's the Secretary of Defense. That's
a big deal.
That's oh my God. So there's a lot of that. There was so much heavy stuff away from the football play and the access Connor gave, and then Chaps and Kate. So just like a fun, quick little good one. I've been telling Connor I want to go to Army Navy. This is probably like 3 years in a row where it's like I'm coming out to West Point for a game where I'm going to do this, and it's falling apart. And so then it was like, well, I'm going to go with my dad. I don't know how long we're going to be doing college football shows in parking lots. I don't know how. I have no idea like what the window is, and I'm very much a guy who's like, it's not gonna be forever. Not like 10 years from now, I'm gonna have all these opportunities to take my dad stuff. So I put some urgency with my brothers and was like, we should take dad somewhere. Let's do Army Navy. So I had made a big deal about it. There's been coming together with Connor for a number of years. So when it had come together, my brothers couldn't go. They got young kids, so it was just me and Mark. And Connor had told me, like, hey, I'm gonna get you guys some field passes. And he reached out the day before. It was like, hey, I can only get you one. Not a big deal. Like, I'm going to work on it. And then when we get to Philadelphia, so many great things that happen, but just this one story in particular of Connor being like, I only have one field pass and it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. And I'm telling him, yeah, don't worry about it. And I'm thinking I'm just going to give it to my dad when we get there. We're like walking in the stadium. He's like, I'm sorry, I can only get you one pass. And like, you know, it might be awkward for you and your dad. And I'm like, oh, no, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. And he's like, are you kidding me? And he takes out the second pass and gives it to me. And he was like, I want you to go get this. So I've been walking around with my dad for, you know, the weekend, just being like, hey, we do have one pass. You know, one of us can get on. Maybe we can pass it back. Or so it had been something that like was on our mind and we had talked about. And was like, yeah, you know what? I want you to take the pass and go down. And so Connor just like played it up perfectly. I felt like a fucking 6-year-old kid, and we were getting in the car.
It's Christmas.
And my dad was like taking us to, you know, a Bulls game or something to see Jordan, and like.
Now, was he fucking with you the whole time, or did he get a pass late?
I mean, I don't know, man.
Connor Crean is not smart enough to hatch a scheme like that, Ed. He's a doofus.
The delivery and like he was with his dad and like it felt. I could see it either way though. Now that you say it, Ed.
Yeah.
Tremendous moment because then my dad, like his eyes lit up, was like, holy fuck. You know, the guy Mark turned 70 in January. He's a very just like weathered guy.
Yeah. Well, that's a once in a lifetime experience, field passes for Army Navy. It's like the most American thing that we do.
I haven't even thought about what I'm getting my dad or mom for Christmas yet, and that kind of just made me feel like a piece of shit. Like, I'm not going to do anything that cool, so you should be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'll probably take him out to dinner and, like, get him some socks and undies or something.
Were you with Cons during the game?
No. He stayed with the team.
Okay.
He stayed with the team. We had seats elsewhere.
So what you're saying is...
He's so crazy during Army.
And they have different colors. So ours were yellow, which was just pregame. So then the game starts and it's like, hey, you got to get... Not like you have to get out of here, but it's just... That's the last place you want to abuse any type of privilege, right? So we leave, we get out, where do we go? How do we get upstairs? And like, go take the service elevator. So we go stand over the service elevator. And like, here comes a fucking Congressional Medal of Honor winner. Like Mike Thornton, some ridiculously famous Vietnam vet surrounded by Philadelphia police officers. It was a legend. And it's just me, him, my dad, couple Philly officers on this freight elevator. How you boys doing? It's like, yes, sir. Like, I'm not worthy enough to be looking this fucking man in the eyes at all, in the least bit. And there's people like that all over this game. Active service members. You go sit down. It's like, hey, what's up? It's my dad, Mark. I'm Carl. We're from Chicago. Like, what's up, man? I'm Griffin. I fly F-18s. I'm on active duty. Like, you know, that's my dad. We made our trip together. It's like, oh, wow, good for you. So the game's over. we got to leave. Everybody rushes the field. And I was like, well, let's get out of here. And he and I are pretty reckless guys when we get together. It's like he and I do damage. He's not like that with it's just like he and I have a lot of fun together. And we'd been running around Philly for a couple of days. So we're leaving the stadium. Was like, you know what? These passes work just fine. We just went right back on the field. Nobody gave a fuck. Shaking cadets' hands. It was just insane. I would recommend it. I think they're going to start moving it around now. So
are they? It's not.
They used to, right?
Yeah, they
Baltimore,
used to do
Boston's coming.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing Boston.
They did it in the Meadowlands last year. I guess that sucked. Philly's sick. That's my third trip to Philly in like 2 months. Now I'm
I feel like
almost done talking about the trip. So you guys talk. Like,
no. I have some questions. Does he? Well, hey, was it? And this is. I say this with the utmost respect. Was it like? Did it feel like Thanksgiving? Like just all the pageantry, but then you get there and you realize like the meal's like just like whatever.
Oh, in terms of the actual game.
That's like the biggest. That's like the biggest risk.
Yeah,
Not at all.
It doesn't like the triple
It
option.
doesn't seem like that on TV. I don't think.
Oh, Dave.
The game itself.
The players aren't big.
But
players are noticeably noticeably smaller.
It's not though.
Did you guys see that?
Army's both schools have been
Trump-
ranked in the last few years.
Yeah, the Trump clip.
It's just a great Trump clip. Like John.
yeah,
like the John.
One of the funniest delivered clips.
That was fucking
Maybe not the best
hysterical.
football. Maybe not the best. It's a great game. Maybe not the best football. And that's okay. They're gonna die for this country.
You had to get that shot.
It's okay. They're not good at football.
You can't just
That
let
guy
it be.
can operate a drone from fucking 6,000 miles out in the middle of the Mediterranean.
He couldn't help
Yeah, who
himself.
gives a shit about the triple option?
Yeah, maybe not the best football.
No, there was at no point it's crazy to say that once the day started. So Friday was a fuck around day. We went to Philly. We just boozed all day. And like, I shouldn't say it like that, but we did. And we watched all the World Cup soccer games and just like went on a bar crawl around Philly, went to museums and had like a bunch of different food. Crazy good day with my dad that I probably, if I'm lucky, there's one more of those left in our lives. Be dead honest with you. And I know there's guys listening to this that have that like, time's winding down. It just, that's the way it is. Like,
That's kind of depressing.
and there's, dude, my brothers have young kids.
it's,
Like,
it's the truth, but it's
our
fucking
family.
depressing.
And so you just think like, what are the chances that me and my dad get to go together one-on-one, run around a city for an entire day, some random city for an entire day, knowing that the next day also belongs to us. So that's where the Friday thing came. It was super cool.
Now, what does he keep in those manila folders?
Isn't that funny? He's a serious guy, man.
love that.
Do you have manila folders?
I got one or two.
I tweeted out a picture. He had an itinerary and it said Army, Navy, and then it had a date. And he'll do the labels himself, and because he's, he's like a very organized man, and that's the attorney in him. He's like, see, he had to print out. Our flight leaves at 5:20. How do you know he's holding out like a printed out receipt from Southwest.com? I'm like, do you have the app? It's like, your mother's got it.
Did you meet Coach Munkin at all?
No. Who?
Coach Munkin, Army's head coach. He's a proud Wheaton native.
When's the last time anybody here traveled with the father one-on-one?
Car trip to Notre Dame. That was a couple weeks ago.
I used to do a baseball trip with him. We do a new stadium every year.
Oh, that's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Traveling with my
I
dad.
have a couple of trips like this where my dad and I have just gone left together for a couple of days. And I think this might be like the third or fourth one. It's
nice.
been the first one.
I haven't done that since high school.
But it's just funny too as you get older and you see like you bring up the manila envelopes and the folders and stuff. It's like, no, that's just the like that's who those guys are. That's that generation. That's awesome. Yeah. Looking at a fucking atlas, still doing it.
How good was that fucking cheesesteak?
I don't want to say anything because I don't want to disrespect I have such profound respect for Jim Graziano that like I just say bringing up sandwiches. I cannot talk about a sandwich without being like love Jim Graziano because it's just disingenuous.
Wait, why? But
because I'm gonna like sit here and tell you that the John's roast pork cheesesteak in Philadelphia is one of the best things I've had outside of Chicago. One of the best things I've had in my. It was like a religious experience.
I've heard that, and that's
you have to go to the most
just because it's a
like,
sandwich
Tony
doesn't mean
Soprano's
it's a competitor.
fucking, like I know not, but like this is where like the very industrial part, strip clubs and fucking You got to drive through some shit.
That was Rowan endorsed, right? Didn't he agree?
Yeah, he said like top 2. I did laugh. I think it was your last trip maybe, and I always like seeing the recommendations. I think you tweeted like best cheesesteak in Philly, and then you tweeted like I'm not fucking driving 30 minutes out. And like idiots. Yeah, exactly. And then someone goes, tough look for Johnny's. And then it was like, he got you. He got you.
But that is, to be fair.
Which is like it's the exact distance.
To be fair, you'd ask anybody and they'd say go to Johnny's.
Yeah.
Johnny's overwhelming favorite.
But that's what's funny. Is
I'm talking about the guys that are like, ultra hyper specific. It's like, dude, that's not in Philadelphia. That's in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That is a completely different fucking metropolis.
It was good though, huh?
The cheesesteak?
Yeah.
Lady comes out. She goes, you order, you wait, 15, 20 minutes. Line's out the door. Lady sticks her head out the counter. She goes, hey, all yous in here that hadn't ordered yet. We're out of bread. No more bread. I'm doing small beef, small pork only. Do not ask for a cheesesteak on a small bun. The second I start serving those, all you guys do is ask for it. I only do cheesesteak large. Delivery hasn't been done yet. Do not mess with me on this. Small pork, small beef only.
Yes, ma'am.
And then she looks, and then she puts her head back on the counter. I make eye contact with her. She goes, I fucking hate my job. Comes out a minute later. That just heard me make the announcement. Bread's being delivered in 20 minutes. If that fits your itinerary, stick around. Do not ask for a small cheesesteak. Do not ask for a small cheesesteak.
That's hilarious.
It was a great experience, man. Duncan.
That's great. Glad I did a good trip. That sounds like care. Reminds me of Innovative Care. If you have ADHD and you want a doctor who makes it easy to get your medication, Innovative Care is the answer. They are located right here in Chicago, and they have simplified ADHD management. Here's what you need to know. Innovative Care is a real medical clinic, not one of those online-only refill services. They use telemedicine to save you time, and most ADHD patients only come in twice per year. And, drum roll, David, they take insurance.
Huge.
That's
a big deal.
That's a huge deal. A lot of places don't take insurance.
Huge deal because a lot of places don't.
Yeah, a lot of places don't take insurance. So if you are a resident of Illinois, visit innovativeadhd.com to request a visit. That's innovativeadhd.com. One more time, they are located right here in Chicago. They have simplified ADHD management. It's a real medical clinic, not one of those online-only refill services. And like they said, save you time with telemedicine. So innovativeadhd.com to request a visit.
I don't think.
I met Jordy too. I want to say that. That's like obviously a lot of people were in Philly, but guys like Jordy should have like more shout outs and stuff because that guy's fucking awesome. I've enjoyed following him on social for a long time. The smoking meats and like I don't know, if you follow Barstool close enough where you know who I am, and like obviously you know who Jordy is. Philly guy just die like that's to me is like the bread and butter of what makes Barstool tick is like guys like Jordy. Yeah, just a fucking sweet dude. So got a chance to meet him, and he made brisket for everybody.
He's very good at that. So he came out for Smoke Out, and then he's done I think all the Chiclets Cups. He's just a good guy to have around. He's just like,
everyone needs that guy to have around.
Yeah,
he's been around forever too.
He was full-time years before we were too. Tragic thing for him. He had his original Twitter account was.
I was gonna say I feel like I don't see him anymore. And I used to follow.
Completely deleted. And like permanent, like he was so whatever amount of followers he had, tragic is probably too strong of a word, but he had to start from. He built it up to whatever the number was.
Well, he's got one of the all-time great short viral clips, like a sports fan.
What the fuck?
He's the one driving. What was it, 95? Somebody win a fucking championship!
Yelling at the.
Do we have that clip?
Yeah.
Somebody win a goddamn fucking championship!
Yeah. Well, because I think he's driving right past that.
It's just like
place
a
where they have all the stadium
clip of him just screaming that driving past.
Fuck off! Those teams win championships. They got Super Bowl in 2018.
Long before that.
The Phillies won at least.
I think the Flyers just lose all the time.
The Flyers have not.
They at least went to a Stanley Cup.
Anyways, I wanted to shout out. I saw Jordy in Barstool. There's a lot of people at Barstool like Jordy. I like Jordy.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy.
Can you see everybody?
Yeah, it's like a.
He's a good locker room guy too for Chicklets Cup. Like he's a fun guy to have around.
I'm kind of getting to that point in my life because I got the Weber and everything, where especially in the summer, I just like to tinker with different smoking meats and all that kind of shit. And he has kind of turned that into sort of a little side hustle. Yeah. Jordy has, and he loves it. Like he was out here with the Windy City. Was it the Connecticut guys, Hoodoo Brown?
He knows like a lot of those people.
All the pit masters. And we said this last year, I remember when we were on the show, that at least in the Windy City Smokeout experience, you and I have gotten to know the pitmasters a little bit over the last handful of years, and those guys are all just the best dudes on earth.
I love those dudes. I had a night with them, like a big night with them at the last day of the Windy City Smokeout. I took them to La Scarola, and then we went to Richards, and they were like, because they had heard of La Scarola. You ever heard of La Escarola?
Yeah, with their southern draw.
Yeah, you want, like, we can't get a table. Like, let me see what I could do. And then we had a table of like 10, 12 guys. Armando obviously, yeah, they're a great time, and it's like they only care about one thing:
smoking meats.
And it's like the amount of patience that it takes to do that, and just be able to sit around and bullshit while you're waiting 8 hours for your pork butt to roast up the right way. They're great. I can't wait to go back. We kind of did it the wrong way this year. I only went to one day. We had a lot going on with Smokeout. Portnoy was here, so I didn't get to eat any of the food this past summer.
Oh, I pigged out.
Yeah, well, you went more days than me, so
it was. I mean, how can you not? You go back behind the smoke pits and like, oh, eat this, eat that. I'm like, there's not an ounce of room in my stomach, but yes, I will eat that. But yeah,
I should say as well, since I brought up last week, DJ Ugunlie.
Oh yeah.
That if Marcus Freeman does not work out, I think the Irish should look into Ken Niumatalolo
from Navy.
Yeah,
they just can't.
Why, you just like names that are hard to pronounce? Did I get that joke?
No, I just like imagine if Notre Dame hired that guy.
Do you know who was the guy? I'm blanking on his name. He went to Georgia Tech.
Funny. You're so. Why is it so funny? Why is it so funny to you, Ed?
I don't know why, but it is funny.
They were
names?
Paul Johnson.
No,
Paul Johnson.
Just the idea.
Just like the idea they hire that
making
guy.
That entire fan base have to learn how to say that guy. When it's like, yeah, Dave O'Malley and Tommy Kelly, and it's just like, all right, this is say that guy's name.
You know how mad they'd be at that guy?
Say it, you fucking asshole.
We gotta fire him.
It's deep. It's like, a room full of uncles on like a Saturday afternoon, just 10 guys saying that name 11 different ways.
I keep fucking with my
Do you say it again?
All my buddies are just Notre Dame guys, and I'm just like, hey, like, that's something to look at, guys. Like, if Freeman, Reese don't work out, like,
I don't know,
because he's coming from a big institution with a lot of history and tradition.
Yes,
like how many Heisman Trophy winners from maybe 3, I believe.
Stadium.
Yes,
handful.
Can recruit the right guys. Like Ken Niumatalolo.
Is it? Say it again.
Ken Niumatalolo.
There's no way on earth that the one name that you pronounce correctly is that guy's name.
Hey, big selling point too. It's like you go to Navy, you got to recruit off Staubach, and he does. But now it's like now you go to Notre Dame, you get Montana, you get some of the fucking greats, right? You get like Brady Quinn and Shark in your corner. There's so many like parallels between Navy and Notre Dame in the head coaching position. Where like honestly, if it doesn't work out with Freeman, what's his name?
I'm saying.
How do you say it again?
Niumatalolo.
Ken Niumatalolo.
It's like that scene from Office Space.
Nama gonna work here anymore.
How about that, bro? They fired that guy after the game.
Yeah. Well, how many did he lose in a row to an Army now?
He didn't fumble on the one, that poor kid.
5 or something.
Yeah. He lost his coach's job.
Now, fuck the CBS producers that just keep showing the kid.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're back on this game, but we're
here,
guys.
I'm tired of that shit.
We're here, but we're not talking about the game. We're talking about CBS producers being assholes.
No, I'm tired of that. Like, it's their job to show what fucking happens on the field. Show what happens. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That might be a hot take, but show me what happens.
But the fact we're talking about after the guy fumbles on the 1 yard line, Navy dominates this series. Historically, they're a 3-point favorite. They're in overtime for the first time in 123 years. They have the ball. They're about to score. Guy fumbles on the 1 yard line. Army gets the ball back. Army had like fucking 60 yards off us the entire game. Them winning on the game-winning kick. The whole time, They're just showing the kid crying on the sidelines. I'm at the game. I didn't know this until afterwards. Called my mom on the way out. She's just fucking. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? How despicable.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Off.
That's
but
what you get.
It's the same thing with
Shouldn't
like
have
injuries
fumbled,
and
loser.
stuff. Like
I was
people,
just gonna say you sound like my mom. Like before you said that your mom was saying that. That's the way my mom watches football.
yeah, they
Why
get
do
You want to see this?
Why do they gotta show that
This
guy?
is a Navy. This kid's going in the arm. He's a Navy. I don't even know what the right term to say is. A Navy cadet. He's
you guys feel
fucking
that way?
signing up, man.
Midshipman.
do you guys feel that way about like injuries?
No.
Like
That's
stop
what you
showing
sign
the
up
replay.
for.
Stop showing the replay.
But is there a limit to that? Like the Louisville kid Kevin Ware, when his bone is sticking out of his leg, where is the Eddie line on that?
No, sure. Like that's like gore. Like blood and shit is like
Which
that's,
you love.
We're talking about different things.
That's
sorry.
a different line. No. I know, but that's what I'm saying.
He said it.
I
so.
misread what you just want to see gameplay. The
Correct.
The constant
I'm saying just
going
in
back
general.
and cuts.
Yeah, I'm just saying in general, like showing shit. Like everyone's like yelling because, for instance, we could transfer this.
Fucking camera guys working a union, Ed. You're trying to bust their shit up. You need to have 6 guys on a fucking job. You need a truck. You need to have cuts.
No, I'm saying it's a good thing. Like I want them to show what's going on in the stadium. Like don't like, and we could transfer this into Bears talk. Like people were not mad, but like Russell Wilson suffered a concussion, which I think he left the game and he hit his head pretty hard. But you know, people are like, do we really need to show that? It's like, yeah, dude, show what fucking happened.
People will get pissed at you on Twitter if you like. I remember I posted, there was that like controversial 201.
Yeah.
And
Like it was hard to watch. Don't get me wrong, but like I feel like
it's almost like, oh, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen kind of thing. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like a weird.
What's the
weird.
worst injury to you? Tua's leg or this kid, or the mental injury of this kid fumbling on the 1 yard line for Navy? People call that one of the people call it like the biggest rivalry, period. And the context I got to on the scene was like, here's why it's a big rivalry. No one cares. We're in fucking. Historically, we go to war together. We're competing for. It's such a different rivalry between
definitely.
why are you Army Navy? So my point is, what would be worse? You're the scene. You fumble on the one, which all but guarantees you a victory, or what's worse, the injury really you blow your knee out. You gotta limp for the rest of your life, or you gotta be the guy who fumbled for the rest of your life.
it's hard.
I kind of think it's not the Navy kid, because the Navy kid.
That Navy kid would probably tell you right now that he'd be like, take my fucking legs right now to punch that ball in.
Maybe, but I just think that kid is probably destined to do bigger and better and more important things than a football game. And where
I'm saying you're that kid.
But in that moment, that's the most important thing on earth to him.
in
What's
that
more
moment,
pain? I'm not saying
For
who's
sure.
more adept at overcoming adversity. I'm saying what's more painful, you think, in the long run?
That fucking
I think
The limp?
I think a career-threatening injury, because like that moment's not going to threaten his career.
A guy going, I think it's going to rain later. How do you know? He's like, I
The knee
fucking
hurts.
18 years ago, power sweep, let me tell you.
I can't remember where. It might have been on this show. We were talking about when do you become like an old guy, like an old white. And I had that very moment. Like I was walking around 2 weeks ago. I'm like, man, like my ankles are hurting. And it's like, oh, it must be a storm front coming through. Like it's like,
You make me sick to my
I know,
stomach.
I know. Well, it's just, but it was like a real thing. Like, fuck. Like, why are these all like? There's just, I don't know, low pressure systems moving through. My ankle knows it's fucked.
I was sore
tore a
from
ligament
drawing
in my
that
knee
bow.
from trying to stretch my lower back.
Did you?
Poor Tom's over here. Tom, we'll go out film. Tom was like, give me a minute. I
Do
gotta stretch
any
my-
of
he's
you
got back
clowns
muscles.
have an ounce
he
of
does
athleticism?
therapy for his back to like keep it active.
Not anymore.
And so you're telling me you got injured
Clearly.
doing your activation?
Yeah, I was doing I was trying to do like a lower, like a squat to like kind of stretch out my like inner thighs and back, and I think I twisted my knee.
A little PCL action. Yeah.
I haven't gotten it treated, but it still hurts like 3 weeks later.
I would just ignore it.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Back pain is.
Yeah, that's what being an old white is.
Yeah.
I'd say I'd rather fumble on the one than have that back pain.
Speaking of which, Tom, there's a special day coming up 10 days from
bro.
today. Do you want us
How
to
did we
talk
get
about
back
it?
to Army Navy? Because we were saying Bears and they're showing stuff on.
Ken Niumatalolo.
Every time you say that, I think
They
you're going
fired
to
him right
talk
after the
about
game.
Ken WO.
No.
Oh, that kind of goes to your point, like how important is that game? Because that guy won 11 in a row against Army, and then some point it flipped, and it's like, well, you lost 5, so you're out.
I heard a rumor that there's a lot of money that gets money available to coaches that win that game.
Like bonus money, or
What do you
like
mean bonus
from
money?
like is it, it's like written into their contract, or it's from like boosters?
So I've heard that, and I also know for a fact that the Department of Justice cannot be audited. The budget is too large. That it's simply
Now you're talking my language.
cannot. Ernst Young turned it down. Deloitte turned it down. Every international accounting firm is coming because it's a massive project if you can get it. It's worth an untold amount of money.
The Justice
And
Department or
biggest-
Defense Department?
Defense.
Okay.
And they can't
both.
justify. There's so much money floating
Yeah.
around. So my point is, I bet the coaches that like, hey, you win 5 in a row,
Could be.
And
you get fucking protective detail for
There's
life.
like a slush fund at DARPA to just
That's what I think. So they fired him after the game. It's like, ooh, that's harsh. It's like, yeah, it is harsh, but I think there's this really big benefit if you.
He was there for 15 years.
Yeah, and he took over from Paul Johnson, and
Yeah.
it's like a different joke than what Ed's taken. But when they hired Brian, I think it was Brian Kelly, they were like this close to hiring Paul Johnson, and they were bringing the triple option to Notre Dame.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to see that.
It was
The
like
amount of Notre Dame meatball fucking loser
it was
fans
right
that would
before.
melt down.
Like I think he went to Georgia Tech like either that offseason or the following one, and like he was a finalist for the Notre Dame job.
Did we just put Freeman on the hot seat and make it like? Is this a thing that just started? We're gonna come out of this and people are like, "Yo, did you hear about? Did you hear what's
Better
going on?
beat South Carolina now.
Did you hear what's going on?
It's going to be an aggregated article. Redline Radio reports that Ken
You know what?
Niumatalolo is being considered.
If you're
think you might be
out there
correct.
listening, you're willing to write that article. Like I'm willing to violate all journal. Like I'll kick you back something. I'll give you a benefit. Please, someone make that a mainstream headline.
How about this? I'm open to the idea of him coming in as associate head coach. So it's Freeman, Ed, his name.
Ken Niumatalolo.
Now we're starting to get a little insensitive because I don't have it in front of me.
I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right.
But you don't say Smith right. Now you're going to see Niumatalolo right?
Can't believe Harry Carey could just say those names backwards so fast. Do you think he practiced?
Had to.
Can I transition because I'm angry about
I
something.
mean, you want to talk about?
Thursday was a great day, dude. Did you guys watch that Thursday night football game?
I don't know. In passing.
Baker Mayfield, incredible.
Oh
Stunning.
no, that was a great Friday morning to wake up and watch that drive on SportsCenter.
Yeah, like obviously Bears were coming off a bye, like not much to say. But Rams win that game. Rams needed a win as far as like we're in fucking full. The tanks are out.
Yep.
We're just in full tank mode, and we needed the Rams to get a win because they were in the same position as the Bears. But fucking Broncos country, could they get a fucking win? Like what the fuck is going on with that team? They don't even have the pick. So they have no reason to tank. The Seahawks get their pick from the Russell Wilson trade.
Well, it's the same thing with the Rams. The Lions get their
I know,
pick.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's not even like a tank thing for
Right.
either. Like
So start winning.
They're trying to win. So it's
Yeah.
like Broncos country, figure it the fuck out. And like, listen, I feel bad for their fans because like that's a very tough spot to be in because they just traded the farm for Wilson and like
He stinks.
He is booty.
what their head coach
He
is even
is
worse.
Yeah.
so bad.
Nathaniel-
He's done.
Nathaniel
He's not
Hackett.
done. He's done.
Nathaniel Hackett's
I don't know if you can say he's done.
He is. Have
He
you
looks
watched him at all?
Yes, I know. He's been horrible, but it's
And
like
he's a fucking freak in
he
his
is the
brain
little
too. He's,
yeah, but like
I think he's cooked, man. He is cooked. I don't know that I've
I
ever
feel
seen
like I
someone go
need-
from so good to so fucking bad so fast in my life.
it might be the biggest fleece of a trade of all time because
They got 7 more years of him.
and the Seahawks are going to have a top 3 or 4 pick, and they're a playoff team
Yeah, exactly.
with so
They're like one of the teams that could come out of the NFC.
oh
I don't think the NFC's that good.
wait, the Seahawks?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
no way.
Come on, they're if any year they could.
Oh my god.
It could be
it's-
just a complete Cinderella wild card team.
Are you fucking on drugs?
I think Philly is fucking awesome.
They just lost to the fucking
Yeah, but it's
dog
like
shit team.
Yeah, who nobody goes undefeated in the NFL. Like when they need to dial it up, they got a great defense, great offensive line. They can run the ball. They got an
I
efficient
think
quarterback who
that
can
if there's
move the
any,
ball.
there's not
Great wide
one team in the
receivers.
NFL this year that I would be surprised if they didn't win the Super Bowl. Like in years past with a couple of the Mahomes teams and shit. Like I think that it is so wide open in spite of the Eagles being 12-1.
I'm floored by that. They've like, listen, props to Geno Smith. Like, he's done a lot better than what I would have ever imagined. But for you to say they're going to win the NFC,
I didn't say they're going to. I said I wouldn't be. Like, if what are their odds at? Pull up the sports book. If they're like plus 800-900 to win the NFC right now, I think that's pretty decent value on that team.
I don't. I think that's just throwing away your money. But let me see. Super Bowl winner.
So you like them? Obviously, like, I mean, if we're looking down, so the Eagles,
Cowboys,
Vikings.
The Seahawks are plus
They've gotten
7,000
though by the Cowboys.
Niners
7,000
to win the Super Bowl. Plus 7,000.
Okay, so just win the NFC.
Yeah.
What?
We'll just win the NFC.
To go to the Super Bowl, conference winners.
Like,
keep going.
On the other side, I don't think the Bills are that good.
49ers.
I don't think the Niners are all that great, and you don't know what's happening with Jimmy G. Is he a hot streak right now, or is he hurt?
He's out,
I know he's out,
Brock
but
Purdy's in.
he was playing very good football, probably the best of his career. Is he going to keep that up now that he's been hurt? I don't know.
Plus 3,000 to win the NFC.
I was way off.
Plus
That's awesome.
3,000.
Even better.
Well, is it awesome, or is it a reflection that you might be way off on this? Because
I don't think it would be some fucking like people were talking about this last year with the Colts. I remember, and I liked that as a value play.
I'll suck your dick if the Seahawks win the NFC.
I wouldn't let you do
Smith
that.
Tattoo if they
I mean,
win the
they are
NFC.
for your potential Super Bowl.
Hold on. Oh, we have two
I will let you do that.
They're currently outside the playoff picture.
Big statements in play here, guys. Tom?
What did Tom say?
I said I'll get a fucking Geno Smith tattoo.
I say that,
if
and I
they win
didn't
the
realize they
AFC.
just lost to the fucking
Eddie?
Panthers.
Yeah,
so
I-
I am a
Eddie?
I won't suck your dick. But
Eddie?
I'll
The Seahawks are.
Whoa. So
You know what?
hold
I'm
on
gonna
a second.
amend things.
Now all of a sudden you're not blowing White Sox, Dave?
No, he's not.
That was a quick turn of events here, pal. Because not too long ago you just said you were going to suck White Sox Dave's dick.
You could just leave it out there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's how
sure.
crazy that statement is.
Yeah, he won't.
It's
he won't let
crazy
me
because
do
I
it.
looked at the
He's-
remainder of their schedule. It's
Well,
tough.
we'll cross that
Niners,
bridge when we
Chiefs,
get there.
Jets,
But are you
Rams.
willing to make the commitment that you will fellatiate White Sox Dave to completion?
Do we have an OnlyFans?
Eddie,
If he lets me, yeah.
Eddie, look at me.
You don't have to answer
Will you
that, Ed.
blow
I'm going
White
to
Sox
answer
Dave?
for
Yes
you.
or no? Will you blow
let
him?
me?
No, I will not let you.
Well, he
I don't
said
want
no.
your
Well,
gross
you're
ass
out.
fucking
He said
puke beard
no.
anywhere near my wang piece.
Tom, will you still
tried.
get a tattoo?
I will let that happen.
Yeah.
Would you
I
say
mean,
Geno Smith or
Do you have any
Seahawks?
tattoos, Tom?
Geno Smith.
You gotta
No.
let Tom get a tattoo.
Tom, you got
You strike me as a guy who has like hidden tattoos.
Tom, you can get a tattoo.
Tom.
I know,
Tell
I
us,
should
show
get-
the
I should
people
get a tattoo.
people that earring you got there.
You don't have a tattoo.
Tom,
know if
hey,
I can.
Tom, we're not saying this out loud. All right, Tom does not have any ink. It's a clean body, Catholic boy.
That's upset century.
Yeah.
This has been talked about. I feel like before.
I
want to get a tattoo before. Well, I
just
said I was
can't
going
decide on
to. I said I
something?
was going to get one before I turned like the big 3-0. Now I don't know.
Well,
Tom's a guy who at
got
one
10
point in his
days.
life will run out of secret places to put tattoos.
he's got like
I got
the
one
Kevin
underneath
Durant going.
I got one underneath my
Imagine.
wristwatch. I got one on my ankle. I got one on my butt cheek.
I had the body piercer in here last week. I could get him back in here. We could do a live piercing.
I told you I'd get my other ear.
We got to
pierced.
do something cooler than that.
Did you do a nose ring, Tom?
Yeah, I want the bullnose ring. The loop.
No. I won't let him do
The
that.
Ezekiel Elliott.
If you have to
the-
pick one
for the sake of
piercing,
him.
where does it go? And
That's not my.
like, what's cool?
That's not my ear.
I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying in general. Like, take an average person walks off the street, walks into a place to get piercing tattoos. He's like, I'm allowed to get one piercing. What's the coolest thing he can pierce?
I think it depends if it's a guy or girl.
Lance, you have an answer?
I would just say it's the ears. I don't know. Like, what dude get their nipple pierced or your eyebrow pierced or your lip pierced? Like, I don't know. It's a little sketch.
I'm out on nipple piercings.
I am too.
Do you which is it when Randy Quaid's pulling on him?
What movie?
Yeah, is he pulling?
Yeah, I know.
No,
this-
Farmer
No,
Fran.
yeah,
It's
you're
Farmer
Farmer
Fran.
Fran.
It's
What
not
do you-
Randy, but
Lord of
Randy
Lord.
Quaid turned down the role of Farmer Fran. I also want someone mainstream Hollywood reporting on that.
Can we
25
turn-
years ago, Randy Quaid turned.
Can we turn the rest of the show into just dropping Farmer Fran quotes? Because he might be the funniest side character in the history of
we did
cinema.
draft that.
All right, offense over here, defense over there, special teams. Special teams. Go
seen
run
that
some
movie
laps
in
with
so
Farmer
long.
Fran.
They just
Eddie,
look at him like,
what are you mad about?
That was really it. That Broncos country can't get a win. Like Bears taking a week off. We've dropped from the number 2 pick to the number 3 pick. I think that's substantial because we want to be in the driver's seat for a team who wants to trade up for a quarterback. Hold on, David. Hold on. We want to be in a position. However, with Kyler Murray tearing his ACL, even though Colt McCoy's not that bad, they do play the Cardinals this week, and then they do play the Rams the next week. But Baker Mayfield looked good, and he'll have 2 weeks into the playbook, so something has to find its level. Broncos country, just get one fucking win in the last 4 weeks. And hopefully the Bears don't.
I was watching the live stats of the Texans-Cowboys game this weekend, and because all of a sudden I look at my phone, I'm like, the fucking Texans are beating the Cowboys 98 yards. Cause, I mean,
those motherfucking
98
Texans.
yards in the last like 3 minutes of the game.
Dude, I was watching that too. I was like, Lovey's got them boys playing. That's why I tweeted that, and I was like, whoa, could they do that? Because they end the season with the Colts. I was like, hey, they got a tie.
Exactly.
I was like, are the Bears going to fuck around and get that number one pick?
Exactly.
Have they ever had the number one pick? I don't think so.
They traded for 2, obviously. That was a disaster.
Right.
What was Rex, 3 overall?
Rex was like 18 or something.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. I was way off.
Wait,
I just assume quarterbacks, high picks.
You're the best, dude.
Well, they've had some bad fucking
He was
teams.
a Heisman finalist that year.
Like,
My dad is because of my dad still swears like Jabbar Gaffney is one of the greatest wide receivers ever because he made Rex Grossman a Heisman candidate in my dad's head. So anytime he got cut,
I remember him.
They should pick him up. He's incredible, Jabbar Gaffney.
Everyone has those type of guys.
We should also say the Lions are biting kneecaps. Like they're like that guy, the crazy coach has that team. Talk about a team that has the boys playing. The Lions are.
They beat the shit.
They're
out of
hot
Vikings.
as fuck right now,
dude. Is anybody who was talking
like not a
positive
bad
about
team.
Dan Campbell in here a long time ago? Was it?
was it you?
What?
Me? Were you?
I'm a Dan Campbell guy. I'm a fucking diehard Dan Campbell guy. I went on many times talked about how different and psychotic that guy is, and like that might work because everybody else is trying to fucking outsmart everybody. That might be the only guy in the NFL who's trying to like legitimately primary strategy out tough you.
We share a building with the construction people, and there's a guy who's a Lions fan, and I just saw him when I was going to the bathroom, and he's like, dude, man, appreciate you talking about the Lions last week. And I was like, dude, I'm fucking rooting for you guys.
They've
I hope
won
you guys
5
make
out
the
of
playoffs.
6.
Yeah. I was like, because someone's like, oh, you must not have watched the Lions lately, because I think on like the post game spaces I said something about them.
Like the Bears can beat them.
The Bears could beat them,
which
but it's
they
like
could.
Yeah, they could.
Because their
that's
defense
like,
has week to week.
Yeah, let's not
just
get too
complete
ahead of
meltdown.
ourselves. And I think the rational Lions fans would say the same thing. And especially once you see how that Bills game ended on Thanksgiving, it's like, the Lions are still capable of doing shit like that.
They are capable of doing Lions things.
But
for sure.
Yeah, they've won.
So
they've
they
won
played
5 out of 6, and they're 6-7 right now. The Giants are 7-5-1. They're holding, and so are the Commanders. They're holding on to that last spot.
Tom, hypothetically speaking, if you didn't only legally wager through the Barstool Sportsbook app, would you like to place a wager on the line, whatever is via the Barstool Sportsbook, on Lions versus Jets this Sunday?
Yeah, I didn't follow the first part of that question, but yeah, I really like the Jets in this spot. I don't know.
Where is that game?
Unbiased. At home.
I mean, neither team can, like, this is what it is right here. It's a who shits down their leg the least game. Because the Jets shit down their legs constantly, as do the Bears, and as do the Lions. But the Lions
Jets are kind of
not really. The Jets
are
Jets have
different.
the
Jets have like a undisputable like playoff caliber defense.
Yeah.
Like almost elite. And our last 2 games have been like brutal 1-possession losses. We've like outgained yardage against 10-2 Vikings and the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo.
Yep.
When it's raining, lost our quarterback. He got folded in half. Lost our Quinnen Williams. So, I mean, like, I know I'm a biased Jets fan, but it's a very winnable game for the Jets. But, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. It would just kind of, like, crush playoff hopes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking Dolphins can't beat the Chargers. That fucked us.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Well, I hope it works out for you, Tom. But also, if anyone here wants a better sex life, you're not alone. Up to 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of wanting to enjoy sex, but Roman is here to help. Roman is a digital health clinic for men. Roman addresses a variety of sexual health, needs for men, Roman offers genuine medication that helps achieve and maintain a strong erection. Roman offers discreet wipes that help you last 4 times longer in bed. Roman offers a testosterone test, which includes lab processing, and if it's appropriate for you, treatment for low testosterone.
I feel like I got low T.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to check this out again.
Yeah. And in men with low T, getting testosterone levels back to normal can help increase your libido. At Roman, there are no waiting rooms and no hassle. It's just a straightforward digital experience from the comfort of home. If medication or testing is appropriate, Roman will send it directly right to your door. Everything arrives in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping. To learn more how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, go to ro.co/redline today to get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/redline.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
And this will help me have sex or have better sex.
You got to find
better
a little bit of both. I think it might be both.
Okay, because I know a lot of guys, it's like we just make the assumption that everybody listening is getting laid. And
I hope they are.
There's a point in my life when I look back, I'm like, that was actually hard. It was not an easy thing. And I just don't want it to get lost in the shuffle. And just sitting here, we talk about Roman and better sex life and stuff. Like, I know guys listen, like, well, I don't even fuck. Or I don't find myself in these situations. So it can help you because it's going to improve it's just the whole thing, the aura, the energy, the testosterone, the take on life. It's all there. Danny Lance is flexing. Get Roman. I just want to say that. I really passionate personal endorsement.
It's one of those things where they say it's like youth is wasted on the young. Like that's how I feel. Like back when I was like obsessed with having sex, couldn't get it. And now when you're like older and it's like you kind of figure it out, you're like, but I don't want to. Whatever.
Yeah, that's a problem with humanity is just semen's too, like the proportion of where your semen's activated optimally is where you are least valuable to society.
Correct.
The stronger your sperm count, the less you have to offer me. But
yeah.
What else we got here? White Sox Dave, speaking of low sperm counts, what's going on with you?
I do have a low sperm count right now, and it is not because Ed is no longer in the room. He is not under the desk sucking me off to completion like he proposed to me, 10 minutes ago or so. It's just because my sports teams ruined my life. We did that whole therapy bit a couple months back about the White Sox. Like, it gets worse every day.
You ready for a new session?
It's gotten to the point where I wake up and think about them and I automatically start my day mad.
Could try,
and I'm not even fucking kidding there.
You could try not to care.
It's not a choice I make. It's not a choice I make.
Yeah. What facts do you have in your head about the White Sox? What are things that are absolutely, what's an immovable fact about the White Sox to you?
And I'm
something that'll never change. Just give me an example of something to you when you're like, when I think about the White Sox, here's something that this is how it is, and this will never change.
I'll just place an adjective on them. Half-assed. Hyphenated, so it's one word.
Feeble.
Feeble. It's not feeble. It's that they're half-assed. Everything they do is half-assed. Half-assed farm system. Half-assed international scouting.
Highest payroll this last year. That's where I do have to put you in a little
bit
of.
They're cutting back from.
I get they're cutting back from it, but like that is an example of not being half-assed. 5th highest payroll.
5th highest payroll, but they're not allowed to go out and get anything over a 5-year deal because the owner is too afraid. He's too risk averse to that.
They'll never spend where MLB's going. They
Rick
couldn't
Hahn's,
spend where it was, and now where it's going, they'll never. So
that is what we're going to get into.
Well, we're getting into it right now. They couldn't spend where it was when it was
a couple years ago.
So now it's
pre-current CBA, and now we've all seen. Well, not we all explain it now. KFC has been on Barstool. KFC has been on like a little bit of a tirade against Jerry Reinsdorf over the last handful of years because Jerry Reinsdorf is leading the charge to not ratify Steve Cohen as the Mets' new owner after the Wilpons sold. So, like anything else in a bargaining agreement, you need 23 of 30 votes by ownership for it to be a yes. If you have 22 or less yeses, then that guy can't buy the team. So 23 ownership groups said yes to this, and now spending has gone crazy. We all see these contracts being doled out, and it's been a good offseason so far, like in terms of entertainment as a baseball fan, because everything's moving quickly, and it hasn't been like years past. But you see the Jerry Reinsdorf of the world that just fucking hate players earning what markets dictate, and they're just punting and not like. I saw a tweet the other day. It was some insider, I think, I forget who, saying Rick Hahn is being tasked with fixing this team, and he's being doled zero resources in order to do so. How do you do that? And I've said before, Rick Hahn is not at fault in creating this mess of a roster, but it's gotten to the point like there's nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do unless he wants to trade from the major league team, rob Peter to pay Paul. You trade Colson Montgomery, who's just making a beeline to be a top 20 prospect. You don't want to do that. You should be, you should have a continuous influx of those guys, sort of like the Braves and the Dodgers and other healthy organizations do. And it's horrific. It's horrific. And there's no way Jerry Reinsdorf is going to keep up with this. He is single-handedly gutted this organization. And I hate speaking about it. I know I say the same thing every week, but he is the bane of this city's existence, both with the Bulls, who stink right now, and the White Sox, who have won. If it weren't for him lucking into the pick, he'd have one championship in a combined 85 years of ownership. Pretty fucking bad. Because he's a fucking asshole in how he runs his teams. And I'll kind of just leave it at that. I mean, I'm expecting them to go out and sign like a David Peralta type player, something that moves the needle to zero. They'll be in contention for the division because they do have good players, and the division still sucks. Correa's gone from it now. Twins got worse. But it's like, you were talking multiple championships, multiple parades. Ask me after the parade. Fuck off with all that. You guys half-assed everything. And the more I think about it, the more I think that David Sampson's quote about how Jerry Reinsdorf wants to dangle that carrot in front of the fans' faces to keep them coming back, I think it's true. Even though the White Sox themselves told me it's not. So that's all I got on the White Sox. I fucking hate them. They ruined my life. They ruined my life. And I feel bad for the players that are on that team because they know that they're close. They know that they need help, and they know they're not going to get the help. If I were like a Lucas Giolito or another guy that's got a year or two left on a current deal, I'd be like, I couldn't wait to get out of that franchise.
I mean, Lucas Giolito almost had a 5 ERA last year, though.
Giolito sucked last year. He sucked last year. He's going to be better this year, but I think that he attacked his offseason. It was the right idea. It was bad execution. He got way too big, way too stiff. He lost fastball. I think that he's going to change that and he's going to be closer to the version we saw 2019, 20, and 21. And instead of the 2022 version of Giolito we saw. But I mean, I was using him as an example. Like, you got other guys. Like Jose Abreu. I am so happy that he's with a healthy organization now. I'm so happy for that guy. He no longer has to deal with this bullshit where he comes in and busts his dick 150, 55 times a year and get rewarded zero by the front office with players that, like, in a complete roster to actually have a chance at a World Series. Yeah. So that's it. I have never, in all the years I've had Twitter, which is 10 and a half years I've had it since July 2020, it is White Sox fans hate the White Sox. Hate the White Sox. And they have no problem saying that anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's, like I've said, that's all I got to say 3 times now. That's all I got to say. I fucking hate them. And
is Tom Ricketts approaching that territory after this summer or this winter?
So this is the first time in my life. Like, I love when the Cubs fuck things up.
Yeah, no, I'm let him keep running around.
Watching Correa and Trey Turner sign last year.
Think so?
No, because I know I'm not trying to be rude. Like the second I'll get going on anything, because there's a huge story with that. It's going to go right back to where we're at right now. He's got a look in his eyes. He's off. I know he says he's done. He said he was done in the middle of that rant, like on 3 different times.
Yeah. And I took the third one as fact.
He's like, I'm done. And one last thing I'll say, and then the last thing I'll say, and it's dude, this is because you're worked up, and it's fine. But let him run.
I'm talking about the Cubs now because there was the dead air. I'll answer that question. It's the first time in my life I've ever felt for Cubs fans, and like, you guys should be pissed.
Spider-Man meme.
How in the you have a perfect opportunity with, and we can get to Dansby in a moment, but you got Trey Turner and Carlos Correa. I looked up their payroll commitments. You got Marcus Stroman for the next 2 years at like $24 million a clip or whatever it is, and David Bodie. Those are like your long-term payroll commitments right now for any amount of money of significance. Mm-hmm. How in the fuck do you not go and get Trey Turner or Carlos Correa? That is unbelievably bad. I don't want to hear about the term lengths. I don't want to hear about the dollars. You go and you get the best players when they're available. That is, I would be outraged if I'm outraged right now as a White Sox fan watching the Cubs do this, because I look and I'm like, I saw this happen 3 years ago in the Machado Harper offseason. That directly led to what we see right now. Mm-hmm. You go and get those players when you have the chance, and they had a wide open payroll. You got baseball Disneyland being built a half mile down the street from here. All this revenue, you draw $35,000 a game. You own all the bars, all the rooftops. How in the fuck do you let that happen after you let the media talk about how they're opening the piggy bank for them?
Yep.
Opening the checkbooks. I mean, that someone leaked that, unless they're flat out lying about what Rickett said. Either that or Jed Hoyer's, which would make no sense to me, because he needs to start building winning teams.
You also left out Marquee.
And Marquee. Yeah. You got all that. You got the local TV revenue, the net. It's mm-hmm. I think it's gross negligence. And if I were a Cubs fan, I'd be like pitchforks and picketing outside Clark and Edison right now.
100%. I mean, yeah, a lot of people are as mad as you are. Very much a lot of people are mad as you are.
And I looked ahead at the free agency class next year. It's not much.
I'm not willing to get not willing to get. We're in the middle of it. I have the information asymmetry is all over the place. The knowledge gap. I have for me to say like this and that. A couple facts I can work off is like, I don't like Crane Kenny. I think he's a fuck. More stuff comes out. It's like a personal thing where I just don't like him. But not enough to be like he's bad or he's a bad operator. But now more stuff happens where it's just like, man, this guy really, like the fact that he's representing Tom Ricketts and he's talking about the Cubs and he's the mouthpiece for it. He is Tom Ricketts' #1 employee. So like those are the things I know, and like that's the stuff that gets frustrating. Do I want to see Carlos Correa for 13 fucking years in a Cubs uniform? No, I don't. A 13-year fucking deal. When we did 8 for Hayward, most of which just was like the biggest albatross of all time. 13 years, like, that's so much. I'm like, we're not even fucking... Dude, we're like... The Cubs are lucky... The Cubs are lucky to be clearly in 3rd place next year. They'd be lucky. Let me repeat this for baseball. I'm not picking this word haphazardly. For the Cubs to finish in 3rd place next year, they have to have luck. They have to outperform their fucking projections, and like balls have to drop and shit. That's what this team is. And so 13 years for that's a lot. 11 years for Trey Turner. Oh God, that's so much. And then you start going on those like, what's like something that I'd be okay with? And then it's like, well, then why the fuck can't these
that point of view though? It's not there's no salary cap.
Talking about terms, dude. I'm talking about length.
I understand, and
then you'd let me finish.
10 years from now, that $25 million AAV is going to be nothing. It's going to be nothing. It's going to be nothing.
Okay, so
there's going to be players making $50 million AAV by the time that those years are. He's in his waning years. A whole new CBA will be signed.
So finish the thought on Turner. So it's 11 for Turner, and that's too much too, you said, correct? Or
the
that's
length of there's two parts to a contract. It's how long is it, and then how much you get paid per year, and then you multiply those and you get the total value of the contract. Okay, so with it, that's it. I know that sounds so basic, no fucking shit, but like the total value of the contract, the number of years, and the amount of money they commit per year to that. So Carlos Correa getting $40 million at 120 for 3 years. I'd rather see if the Cubs were like gonna be. You want to talk about? I don't give a fuck. It's my money. Then go fucking give him a 2-year, $100 million deal. I'd stand behind that. You're goddamn right. Charge me a fucking arm and a leg to go in that ballpark. So it's an awful experience if you take away all the fucking stuff Tom Ricketts isn't responsible for. The ivy, the history, the day. Yeah, Tom, you fucking bought it. You didn't build it. And they charge you an arm and a leg for it, and we're all detached from it, and it fucking blows. So if you want to make an argument to me and be like, I shouldn't care because it's my own, it's not my money, save it. That's a shitty argument when I'm talking about years. The total value of the contract, yeah, Tom Ricketts has the money to cut a check. Do I want Carlos Correa for 13 years? No. I'll take Carlos Correa for 6. Now, if you want to talk about money, that motherfucker, if you want him to play up the middle for you, is worth $45 fucking million a year.
Yeah.
Next year, right now, cut the dude a check. $50 million maybe. He's so good at his best. So, how do I get mad? As a Cubs fan, how am I supposed to be? I'm mad that they didn't sign these guys. Yeah, sure, I could get mad now, stomp my feet, and then fucking Correa could like rip an ACL or... It's so hard to be like really mad right now in the moment. You'd like to see him do stuff. Yeah, I'm surprised that Jameson Taillon gets $68 million in 4 years. It's like, well... And you start adding up money. Bellinger 17.5. Contreras and Rizzo are going to make less than Taillon and fucking Bellinger. Like, that's the stuff where you're like, that's so uncomfortable. Is it enough for me to sit here and be like, fuck these guys? Nah, dude, they're an 81 win team right now, if they're lucky. And that's just the way it is. And if Tom Ricketts can't, they're so listen to this for a second. And this is an objective thing. You're a Cubs fan. You want the Cubs to perform. I want the Cubs to do well. I want to watch winning baseball. I want it to be October. Bluntly, I'm just going to name a couple teams, and then we're going to have a fucking reality check here. Dodgers, Padres, lump the fucking Giants in there. I'm not going to. Padres, Dodgers, Mets, Braves, Phillies, Cardinals. How the fuck are the Cubs going to close a gap? I'm not talking about they got to close a gap on one team or two teams. The Yankees have to be better than the Astros. Dude, they're miles behind half a dozen teams that are
get
fucking
superstars when they're available. That's what all those teams are doing.
That's a simplification.
That's not a simplification.
Steve Cohen has $10 billion. The Braves have a genius front office and an unbelievable fucking depth. The Padres owner, I think he's in cahoots and has dirty money. The Dodgers are intentionally ripping their payroll down so that they can spend like $200 million next year. Like all these, they're just miles at. Now you can say like, well, it's because they go out and pay players. And if I was a White Sox fan, I'm sure I'd feel that way. I'm sure I'd say it's just as easy as going to pay guys. But to be fair, Dave, the White Sox have never in your lifetime been a team that can go year to year to year, at least 3 years in a row where you're like, they're at the top of the division and we feel good. Now, I'm no fucking expert, but the Cubs did have a good run there, and I watched it all fall apart, and I watched all these teams run around them and fucking run circles, and now I've been sitting here in purgatory.
You are an expert, though.
And the Cubs can't do any of this fucking shit. And now there's half a dozen teams that are running laps around the Cubs. And so to sit here and be like, well, they didn't sign Correa, that's not it. There's so much more to it. It's philosophical. It's fucking deep in the bones. Craig Kenny's in charge. And Tom Ricketts is a bitch. And Jed Hoyer's trying to assert himself, but he can't really. And he's not. And it's just like, it's just a fucking awkward cocktail. And it's very hard as a fan to be like, fuck this, or I'm out, or any of this stuff, because the reality is they're an 81-win team. Yeah, that's just who they are right now.
Wasn't the promise of the Ricketts and doing the Disney World Wrigley that we are going to be one of those Dodgers, Yankees?
Yeah, they've been. And the only thing I'll say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if I'm Tom Ricketts, like I'll just be Tom Ricketts. Oh, COVID, chief. We were on that path, and you talk to some of these and the extensions hold up. I'm not saying this, and
I'm not
it's
saying
good. I'm just
wrong.
telling you that's what the organization's going to do.
Yes.
And,
Right.
Which makes me sick.
The reality is, like, let's just call space bait. Like, you start the season, you say, what do the computers say? What are the chances we win the World Series? It's like this year it's 6%, this year it's 3.5%. Now those decisions are made off of like 1%, and then it goes up to 1.5%, moves the needle. That's material for you. The Cubs sit down after 2016, 17, 18. I'm sure was probably the first year going into 19. It was like, what are the odds this year, and then what do we do for it? And that was probably the first time they were like, you know what, we're gonna make some fucking money off this, and hopefully we get lucky. And they rode this phase where it was like, maybe we'll get lucky and play it a little safe, and then COVID hits, and then it's just like one thing stacked on top of the other. And while they're going through their shit, other teams are in a position to excel, and that's what they've done.
How would you feel if you were on the team though, and you heard that like, oh wow, we're gonna get one of these big guys, and then they fucking
it depends who you are. Like Ian Happ's probably detached. I would guess Ian Happ is like, what, I don't fucking, he's out here winning Gold Gloves for bad teams and coming up with the Cubs when they were awesome and the Cub way, and now it's like, yeah, the Cub way is, Frank, it's like the Cub way, and then it's like, did you guys see Frank Schwindel in the second half? Like, if you're Ian Happ and you're like a legitimate tier 1 big leaguer, tier 2 big, like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's an everyday big leaguer. Yes. Yeah, you're all right. You've been long checked out. Yeah. My nervousness is that some of these rookies and younger guys, like, they don't even get it. The culture blows. They're probably great guys, but if you don't give them a good culture to play around and shit, like, how can you expect anything from these guys?
So I guess that was where I was going to go with that question was, I can get on board with what you're saying about not spending for Correa because you're not really ready to compete with those teams. Are they doing the other things?
We'll find out, man. We'll find out what PCA's like. Matt Mervis is a guy that,
that's two guys that are still wild cards.
I could name 7 other, I guess. But if like Hayden Wisniewski's good, and there's like Keegan Thompson and Steele take steps forward. I just
did that entire thing with Yoel Moncada and all those guys. And guess what?
He's asking me if they're doing the right things. And
right. So if it's like an analytics development, like, is it better than what it was 5 years ago?
They were so top heavy before, where they had the best. They had the best prospects in baseball. That was because they went out and traded for them.
Yeah.
And they didn't draft and develop them. And so now they're trying to do that. And I don't see it. I just don't. I haven't seen it. So, like, are they better at drafting and developing? I don't know. Where they could get much better at is like the trades, and like, they got rid of a bunch of fucking guys to bring in people that didn't help us win anything. So
yeah.
Are they better in that? We'll see if they're better in that front, because they're not. There's what I'm trying to say is, and it's disappointing to say, is like, baseball's not like this season or that season, or like football, like, it's like a 5-year, 6-year block of time, and there's like, you know what, PCA has, how the Cubs get back on top, where you can say like, man, the Cubs are playing the Braves in the NLCS this year, like, fucking bro. I mean, seriously, they could play the Braves in a 7-game series, any of these top teams in a 7-game series 100 times. 100 times. And they'd be lucky, and I know they'd be lucky to win fucking 5 of them.
Yeah.
You need PCA to be like an everyday big leaguer and one of the best center fielders in baseball. You need Matt Mervis to hit. And these are just the names we know, and if this doesn't work out, guys that aren't, Matt Mervis would have to hit 40 homers on a rookie deal. Madrigal would have to play 150 games a year and be awesome. Nico Horner would have to be like the next Dansby Swanson. I mean, I just keep going and going, and you're just like,
That's why I say when there's a ready-made young all-star MVP caliber talent that plays up the middle like Carlos Correa or Trey Turner, you go and you get those guys, especially when you don't have to sacrifice prospect capital. You don't have to sacrifice like trade. You don't have to a big league capital. All it is money. And like I said, I think it was $26.9 million is his AAV for that contract. I could be incorrect there. In 10, 11 years, when he's on, you're about to hear the death rattle of his career, there's going to be guys making 50, 60 million a year.
Yeah.
That doesn't diminish the fact, though, that like there's still going to be probably close to 4 or 5 years where it's objectively below replacement level like
and
value
you got the DH, you can move
for
him to
that
left
much
field.
money.
You can,
so then, but my point is, so like
DFA him and let him go. You have
the accountant in me would say you'd allocate that wasted resources to the front end of the contract, so you can say it's $27 million a year for Trey Turner or whatever, because that's what they calculate with AAV and for the luxury tax threshold. But if the last 4 or 5 years of those deal and it's basically dead money and it's 11-year fucking contract, it's actually closer to a 7-year deal. And you can think about it from like, that's not a 20, you're paying this guy like $42 million for that, because what Trey Turner's saying is, I want fucking $340 million. I want all this money. And the Phillies are like, yeah, we can't give you all of it. We could give it to you a lot. And so like, sure, because the Phillies went to the World Series this year, everyone's talking about how great the Bryce Harper contract is. And so far it's been okay. He's injured next year. He's injured this year. You know, then it creates a DH problem a little bit.
You're not even talking about the...
We could circle back a year from now and be like, man, what really held the Phillies back this year is they just don't have any defensive depth and they can't move their players around. And it just sucks that fucking Bryce Harper's out, because then they have the Castellanos contract. And so, yeah, it's great now until it's not. And that's why I'm not willing. 13 years for Carlos Correa.
I think that you have a little bit of Stockholm syndrome, and that you are saying what owners want fan bases
They can't win the division, much less the pennant, much less a playoff series
next
or a World
year,
Series.
Then you get Pete Crow Armstrong, you get Matt Mervis, you go and sign pitching. Carlos Rodon's available right now. He would love to come back to Chicago.
They're not even close.
And you can't get close unless you get better players.
Long-term questions at third base, left field. The only positions that make sense in the long run for the Cubs right now are center field, and they don't even. The guy isn't even up yet. Right field for like 3 more years, and you have 2 middle infielders that are like moderately above average when healthy and playing at their best. That's it. That fucking if it's somebody 13 years now, and then every single player you're going to evaluate from there on out will be under the context of, can this guy play for the big league team? Is he good enough? Is he going to impact? Yeah. Where do we play him? Well, we got Carlos for another. And not to say that that's a great problem for the Giants, because they fucking need him. The Cubs don't need that's a huge problem for where the Cubs are at. And
and I think that's all like very logical, I guess. But it's like, if you're not going to allocate money there, if you're talking like Excel spreadsheets and where you're budgeting, well, then you better invest it in some other place that helps you win in 4 to 5 years. If Carlos can't get you over the hump now,
and then my question back to you guys is like, what? Now I look at the Cubs and I say, makes sense. Why do they need to win?
Well, then that sucks.
I don't know. Crane Kenny's in charge of that organization. Why do they need to win? Who cuts the bonus checks? What's important? Winning baseball games or making money?
So it's
more important for them to
Cubs.
make money, maintain, investment, tenure. Tom Ricketts doesn't fucking sit down and give a fuck if they're winning or losing in a season. Tom Ricketts fucking bells are going off because it's like, hey, our 5-year window is starting to get risky. Now you have Tom's attention. You want to tell Tom, hey, it turns out Patrick Wisdom ranked dead last in all of Major League Baseball in defensive run save. Think Tom Ricketts gives a fuck? Position does he play? Hey, Tom, just so you know, we had a meeting with Gallagher Insurance, and they were talking about some of the captive risks, and oh, fuck. You know what I'm saying? The culture about that ain't about winning. It's about protecting an investment. Home run investment, probably one of the greatest real estate investments anyone in the United States can own. Yep. If we're calling spades a spade. So it's hard for me knowing all of that. It just makes sense. I get it. It sucks, but I get it. So what would the solution be? Get Crane Kenny out of there. Get Crane Kenny here's my last. Get Crane Kenny as far away from the Chicago Cubs as possible. If Crane Kenny is still working for the Chicago Cubs, there is no point in talking about future plans. Are they doing this well or that well? Because he holds the express and exclusive authority to fuck the whole thing up, and he will do it. And he'll repeatedly do it. Self-interested, has no focus on winning baseball games, building anything about winning baseball games. It's never been about that. He's the number one person there, and they all got to fucking work around him. And Tom loves him. So my last thing is, if you honestly care about the Cubs, people say canceling season tickets. All emphasis has to be on Crane Kenny being removed, and then them installing a 1-2 sincere, equal business baseball punch. Because when Theo was in charge, Crane Kenny did not fuck with Theo Epstein. That's it. You're dead. Yeah. You're not fucking with this guy. This is the most important guy in Chicago right now. Like, just whatever. Now it's like, well, I lived through the theory. Crane Kenny is whatever. Personally, I give a fuck. Sure, probably a nice guy. Knows a lot about red wine. Decent golfer, I'm sure. Probably fucking can just whatever. Mm-hmm. The fuck away from the Chicago Cubs. It's time. Just get the fuck away from the Cubs, man. Learn how to move on, Crane.
Good way to put it.
Oh, I don't see eye to eye on that hardly at all.
Clearly,
I understand.
You're the one coming in here going, you can't sleep, and you're vexed, and you
because I refuse to accept what the White Sox have done. They've done the same thing.
Except you can't change anything about it. You don't work for them. You can't go in there and be like, sign this guy. Then maybe we can talk about like
that. That doesn't mean I can't call them fucking assholes for doing the same thing over and over again. But like you've accepted it, I'll never accept it. I'll never accept that.
I think this year they're not good. They're not going to be good.
Then you go and get good players to become better. And we saw it with Bryce Harper when he signed. Trey Turner just said himself, I wanted to play with Bryce Harper.
Maybe like if they signed John Lester in 2014, what if they spent all their money in 2014, not 15? You know, it just doesn't make sense, dude. It wouldn't have made sense.
They did that. They signed Lester in 2014.
No, they didn't.
What year did they sign him?
His first season was 2015.
This is like this 2014-15 offseason.
If there's like anything I know.
Have you looked ahead to free agency in the coming years? Because it's pretty bare bones.
Yeah, the position player group isn't fucking great, Dave. It's not great.
So enjoy trying to win with Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm sure it'll be good.
The Cubs didn't win a World Series because they went out and signed great position players.
They don't have the Anthony Rizzos, though.
Not yet. It's just like, I don't even know what to say. Like, they're not going to win it in 2023. They're not.
Or the Chris Bryants. They don't have those guys right now.
They're not a good club. They're just not good. I mean,
I guess you just got to agree. I saw that last night, and I was pissed for fucking Cubs fans.
Yeah, you're triggered because it's been your entire existence.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they're playing a game and they're shit, like the reason we're talking about this right now is because everybody thought they'd sign Correa, and the reason it's such a big deal is because like it's hot. This is hot. Come to me 2 weeks from now and be like, I already talked about that. I addressed it. I've moved. I'm on. I'm moving on. I come back 2 weeks from now. Can't fucking believe they did it. It just is what it is, dude. Somebody paid the guy $13,350,000. That's or 13 years and $350,000. That's the market for it.
And did you say like, is there any chance Dansby?
I mean, if they do, it's going to be an overcorrection. Then it's not going to be part. It's like Dansby Swanson wasn't their number one target, and then it doesn't make sense on a baseball side. Now you're overcorrecting because people are shitting on you, and PR stuff's coming out, and Crane's leaking stuff now. Crane's leaking stuff all through their fucking business side. Julian Green, all that media. It's trash, dude. It's fucking trash.
Nightmare.
Stories come out like, oh, well, now Jed Hoyer's getting blindsided. Like, whoa, fuck. Look, is this camera on me? And it's I can look in the camera. I'm looking in the camera. Crane Kenny, fuck you.
Jerry Reinsdorf, fuck you.
Love the players though. Love David Ross. Love David Ross.
I have
love him. So
this job has quickly made me No, I would say over the last 2 years mostly. With the pandemic,
it has been a quick 2 years.
It has been.
Yeah.
With the pandemic negotiations, with the owners and players fucking hating each other when the entire world's shutting down, and all they had to do was get on the field and play. And then this last CBA, White Sox punting on off seasons. I have quickly learned to root for players. Not on the same level as the team.
Be a Mets fan then, dude. Just be a Mets fan. Steve Cohen doesn't give a fuck.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Spent $500 million this year in cash. He's representing everything you're saying. Everything that you're complaining about, the Mets are doing.
We need more Steve Cohens and less fucking Tom Ricketts and Jerry Reinsdorf.
Be a Mets, like cheer for Steve Cohen then. The Steve Cohen rocks. Steve Cohen rocks. He's awesome. The only reason these guys are getting paid all this money is because Steve Cohen's there, and they're going, fuck.
What a sinking ore to the bottom of the fucking Lake Michigan. Baseball is in this city.
It's bad. It is brutal.
Nice. I mean, it's like we're gonna start a stretch here. It could be the worst stretch in Cubs history. I don't mean win losses.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and when you know what I'm talking about, Dave, I'm talking about where you have lived from 2009 to
I'll say
2014. I'll say on repeat every year, where it's like, yo, they got Alex Rios.
Yes.
Yo, fucking Canerco has a career year in the back end. I think Burley's got one more season. You're just gonna roll in every year for like a decade.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yeah. Man, it's just like the other thing that frustrates, or it just doesn't make sense. Those divisions, it feels like you're surrounded by small market teams. Like you should be able to outspend and outperform and do everything just a little bit better because you're competing against the fucking Twins and the Royals and as great as the Cardinals organization's been, like that's a very small market. Like you should be able to be the big dog. It's not like you're competing with the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, like all these huge other markets. You should bully them.
You should financially bully them.
Yeah.
White Sox, I get the point about they had the 7th overall payroll last year.
I know, I said 5th.
Not that different, but different nonetheless.
I mean, Tony Reale would correct it. What?
Nothing.
Would you like the reference?
I hit the
yes, I did.
The power strip down there.
I would love Reale for Dave this episode.
Ding.
Lance.
I mean, they should financially bully these teams, and they don't. It's sad to me knowing that the White Sox fan base and the Cubs fan base wants it more than the people in charge.
Well, if you ever want to heal,
that's legitimately sad.
If you want to try and heal yourself,
we already did 3-chi. I would like some 3-chi.
No, I think the show's long. I think you have to think in 3-year chunks, Dave. Think about tomorrow.
There is in 3 years.
Chunk it out.
I would be shocked if the White Sox haven't torn it down and started a new rebuild.
Yo, Pedro.
I like Pedro.
Anything else? So that's a meaty. There you guys go. There's a bunch of. If you're a Cubs fan, I don't know. Sorry, Dave, for me to say you are wasting your time if you're going to complain about anything related to Jed, the front office, Tom, the number one.
See, I disagree there for another reason.
In the culture with the Cubs and what would need to be changed is Crank Henry. This isn't like a time. We're not doing any more of this.
I know different organizations, different people, different circumstances regarding the teams. The Cubs obviously have a lot more money than the White Sox do. I get all that. The White Sox fan base was so visibly and publicly pissed off and calling for heads this summer that they canceled their fan fest because they didn't want to answer the tough questions that fans would give them. That means something. It doesn't mean a lot, but it means something. They know that we're fucking livid with them, and they don't want to face the music. And that's because we have fucking, and I don't want to say bitch, we've called them out for their bullshit nonstop. And I think that's what Cubs fans should do too. You guys can go do what you want though. I'm done being pissed about it because I love when the Cubs are bad.
How could you say you're done being pissed about it?
About the Cubs.
About the Cubs. I won't think about it again.
You're done being mad about the Cubs. Appreciate it.
I was sincerely upset that I saw him sign in San Francisco. I was going to say San Diego, San Francisco last night after the Phillies went and did their thing with Trey Turner. But I'm done with it. I
stand behind Jed Hoyer. I think Jed Hoyer operates under I think the only person in that entire fucking building that has the balls to be like, I will do what's best for this club is him. And that's in the DNA. I think he's got I think he's very professional and obligated. I don't think he's a selfish actor. I think he's got plenty of money. I think he's had tons of success. That's not why he became Theo's guy. That's not the relationship that they would have built over time for him to be the designated heir apparent. Dude, he trusts him. I think Jed would only do anything that is best in the long-term interest of the Chicago Cubs. I believe that. I also believe that Crane Kenny is going to manipulate anything he can to make it look like whatever negative reaction people have about the Cubs, that it belongs to Jed Hoyer, that they have the money and all this stuff. And you're going to see leaks and you're going to see stories. And the reason you're going to see stories is they've got a network of credentialed media people that walk around that have never fucking changed for literally decades. The same people writing the same stories. And they're going to say, hey, we got a story for you about this. And it's all going to come through their contrived network of fucking bullshit and stories and their state-run propaganda. And they just suck. They fucking suck. And the only way to change it is to get rid of the top of the business side. Is the only way to change it. Baseball's on one side. Whoever's in charge of anything but baseball, it's Crane Kenny. Get rid of him and bring in somebody who respects the people and the organization and respects the fan base and fucking has a fucking sincere professional obligation to marry his skill set to the baseball operations department to deliver a winning product, and stop fucking working on behalf of Tom Ricketts Investments and keeping the family happy so you got a spot on a fucking jet. Fuck you. That's why I'm mad. And if they sign fucking Carlos, I think Jed Hoyer's the only one in that fucking room who's got the balls to be like, you know what? That's fucking silly. That's silly. And if you guys want to roast me publicly, but I'm not cutting these fucking checks because I know it's going to come back and bite me in the ass down the road when it's going to fucking matter. That's what I have to trust. That's what I've decided to trust. Not get mad that we don't have the money, we can do this, we can do that. Tom Ricketts is cheap. That's how I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. And the more I say, it's like I could be wrong. Very well could. There's tons of options. One I just said could very much be wrong, but that's it.
Yeah, still early in his tenure too.
All gas.
No breaks.
And DJ, play that shit.